Hey guys, so here we are August 1st. Unfortunately, I have had some logistical issues pop up, some unforeseen things, and I'm not able to get to my supply of Midnight Stag, which is what I'm going to use for Austere August. So I'm going to have to postpone my enjoyment of that, and I'm going to start a couple days later than I had intended. But this is the brush I'm going to use for all of August, and because the focus is going to be on the soap and doing different techniques with the soap. And so I wanted the brush to be something that was not experimental. I've got a couple of dozen shaves with this. This is the Golden Nib Silvertip premium grade brush, and it's wonderful. I really like it. It's a bit low on the backbone spectrum compared to many other brushes, but that's what I like. I like something kind of cloud soft, and I've never had a trouble stirring up any lather from hard soaps, anything with it. My Karve Christopher Bradley razor. This is the Open Comb C plate that I've used recently, and it is going to have the feather inside of it, and this is not the blade I'm going to use. Once I can get to my gear, I'll have my Nacet blade, and toward the end of August or the beginning of September, I'll hit, hopefully, 200 uses on it. But this is a marathon blade in and of itself. There's not too many people who've taken feathers very far. Many people claim you can't. I've got 37 uses on this guy, and it was a great shave the last time I used it, so I don't think that's going to change. The soap for the next few days until I can get to my real gear. The soap is going to be Cella, an Italian soap. Been around for a very long time. I have used it recently. It's got that awesome, to me at least, kind of almond to cherry scent, and we'll be using it. I really enjoy it. I could definitely see myself if in another Austere August using it just for fun. It's not top tier performance, but I don't know. It just feels good to me. Okay, so I've got the brush soaking, and let me throw a little bit of water on my face. Not quite 24 hours since my last shave. And we will put the feather on Chris Bradley razor. Kind of wish you had named it the Christopher Bradley, because it's just so long to say. Obviously, if you're on an internet post or something, you can just abbreviate it to CB. Most people, of course, call it the Karve. But what happens when they come out with another razor, So I try to call it the CB or the Christopher Bradley or the Chris Bradley whenever I can. I first started calling it the Bradley until I realized that the two names were two names of the two people who developed it. So then I was leaving one guy out if I only called it the Bradley. All right, that feather loaded up quickly. Notice I've got that kind of dark patina on the brass here. I could polish it up if I wanted. See, one of the things that happens, you can see those marks right there. No doubt while traveling or something like that. I'm definitely not going to sell this razor. Probably not. The only reason I might sell it is if I were to go and switch to the stainless steel version, but I probably won't. But you can see that sometimes this finish can get marked up by other objects. And so you could either polish that out and then the patina would slowly come back, or I'm just going to leave it and see what happens. I like the patina. Okay, so a 30-second load is what we're going to do for this Cella. 4 to 5 passes of lather the last time I used it is what that gave me. So that should be generous, a generous amount. Shaking off most of the lather here, and hit 45 right there. So let's go until 15. Medium pressure, nothing heavy. Since I have a bulb-shaped brush, I like to kind of rotate the, you can see me rotating the tub to kind of give the tips all around the brush good access. There we go. You know what? I feel like let's do a few more seconds of this just to make sure. We'll do 10 more seconds. I didn't quite load enough the other day, and there we go. And I just, overkill is fine in this case, and I'll know to back it off next time. Okay, now I'm going to rinse off this soap puck. Alright, something good and bad about Cella is that it doesn't have any preservatives. It's good because you don't have artificial stuff getting on your skin. But it's bad because this soap can go bad quicker than other soaps. However, if you seal it up, like in a vacuum pack bag, if you buy that 1 kilogram amount, which is going to take you a while to use up, you can seal it up tightly in some Ziplocs. You can put it in the fridge, you know, all those normal preserve something things. I have heard that a simple seal it up really tight in a Ziploc, try to suck out all the air if you can, and put it away out of the sunlight and stuff is enough to keep it from going bad. Obviously, more stringent things like putting it in the fridge or using some kind of a vacuum seal would be even better. And if you do buy the 1 kilogram amount, then you are looking at a really good deal on a good soap. A good, cost-efficient, economical soap that performs pretty well. And I love the scent. I added 1 teaspoon of water to the lather already. And everyone, this lather is one that I need to run a little drier than usual. Now, there are definitely several soaps out there that are like that. And so if I'll do a few days, I think maybe Sunday, maybe Saturday night, I'll be able to get to my good stuff and use it. So that's at least 3 days of shaving with the Cella. And I'll keep the same gear for a few days, just in kind of a spirit of camaraderie. And then however many days I miss from the beginning of August, by not being able to get to my gear, I will add those days at the end of August and go into September so that I get 31 consecutive days with Midnight Stag soap and aftershave. Now we've got it, and it's pretty thick. You know what? Let's do a little trial here. It is thick, much thicker than I usually go. But you know, let's just see what happens. This one, it needs to run a little thicker or drier than my usual preferences, visually speaking. Let's just see. See, look at all these jagged points. See all that texture, all that contour? In one sense, it makes great photos, but most soaps, when they look this way, are too dry. And they're not going to adhere to your skin properly, bond with your skin to be able to protect it. That's what we're going for. But if this soap is formulated not to be as slick, then ideally it's going to be able to bond and work with your skin, even in a drier kind of situation. Okay, you know what? I'm going to add just a little bit more water in with this, and then I'll shave with it. I'm sorry, I just can't help it. So now we're just going to get a good homogeneous mix. Just mix it up really well. So during Austere August, once I get into the Midnight Stag, I'm going to play around with different techniques. Marco method, which is a very wet technique that comes with a very wet brush to the soap. I'm going to play around with face lathering, help myself to get more, help me to get more experience in that with current equipment. I've got a lot of experience in that with older Vanderhagen type equipment, but let's get more current. I like to get better because I want to be able to help people, even though I enjoy shaving with a bowl much better. It's always good to expand your horizons, and I'll be able to speak intelligently about bowl lathering to people. All right, a little splash of water on my face before we lather. So, oh yeah, let me show you the viscosity here, what we're dealing with. We are talking about 2 teaspoons of water in the lather currently. Definitely holding up its own weight. Probably going to fall in a big old blob and stay together. A little bit of stretch there. These peaks, see how that peak is just not having a problem holding his own weight. Just giving you an idea what to look for if you want to try for this same kind of viscosity. You know, if you're just kind of playing around to find out what you like. Because after all, maybe I like something that you don't. I'm not used to dealing with such a thick lather. Mine are usually slicker. So we'll just have to see how much protection we get. Definitely drier and thicker than I usually go. And it feels fine with the painting strokes. With the scrubbing, it feels a little too dry. So we'll just see, and if it is too dry in the actual shave. All right, using tepid water as usual, and this location has nice soft water. So we're looking at a 38th use of this feather blade. In more mild razors, around 30, 32 maybe, it was starting to feel a little rough. So I whipped out this Open Comb C, which is a little bit more aggressive than what I was using it in. And it's doing very well with it. I don't feel a lot of slickness here. It feels a little too dry, so that's good to know. I mean, it's performing. I'm also interested, you know, one of the things is, am I going to get a good, nice, creamy feel during the rinse? Because after all, that's kind of what I'm doing here, is keeping the water away a little bit to try to get a creamy, rich feel and see how that works out. And sure enough, I did get it. It's not as creamy as something tallow. Is this a tallow soap? Yep, it is. How about that? It's not as creamy as something more buttery like Declaration Grooming Bison, or Barrister and Man Glissant. I'm going to add another half teaspoon of water to the lather. I also left a good bit of water kind of on my face after the rinse. Good feel during the rinse. That almond type marzipan scent coming up to my nose. So this is kind of a day where I'm experimenting with Cella that might be too dry. Sometimes it's good to push your different soaps with the water and see how they behave as soaps that are too wet. To see how your razor might skip across your skin. Usually though, you'll get a nice effective shave. This still feels a little too dry. But the painting feels nice and slick and creamy. Now cross grain. I think this one could probably still use some more water. In the first pass, you are going to want to rinse your razor. Generally, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times. But since you reduce a lot of hair in that first pass, if you have a really efficient razor, then a lot of times you may only need to rinse once during the second pass and third. Not a lot of glide here because of the thickness, and this is what I've been saying for, I don't know, years it feels like. It's so thick that it's not, bonding to my skin and giving me that slickness that I want. It feels creamy, but it's not giving me the razor glide across my skin. All right, so what I'm going to do is add another ½ teaspoon to my lather and mix that up. Last couple uses of this brush, I have lost a few bristles, but it's still relatively young at, I don't know, 25, 28 uses, and so I'm not, three bristles per use right now. This young, it doesn't bother me at all. If it does it once I pass 60, then I might be concerned. Okay, let's rinse. All right, here we go. Water out of the goatee. And this is a 22 millimeter knot, and you see how much it splays? I've got a big face. There we go. This feels better. The brush action feel on the face. This is getting to be where I would want it to have been from the beginning. Still looks nice, creamy layer. There we go. Cross grain again. Maybe a slight upward bent to the head angle here, just to kind of get an almost against the grain aspect to it, since this area gets cut so well. I can be a little bit more adventurous, and yeah, I feel the glide of the razor now. It's moving much easier. And so I believe then my skin is more protected than it was before. rinse and check it out. Perfect lather. Maybe a little on the dry side of that perfect zone. And so I wanted to feel it, see how it feels on my fingers, because I used Glissant yesterday, the diamond from Barrister and Mann, and it was just so slick. And it had this nice layer of buttery goodness, lubrication between my fingertips. Well, Cella doesn't have that, which is cool because it's a cheaper soap. You know, you get what you pay for sometimes. But it is a tallow soap, and so I do have a film that's staying on my fingers as I'm moving the soap around away from, you see my finger pads, they're exposed, and so the soap is moving away, but it is leaving a thin film. And so I'm trying to kind of memorize this feel for this Cella so that I can achieve it next time and know when to stop adding water. Because the rinse was very nice. I could feel the slickness on my skin. The comfort of the razor was multiplied by a good deal on that third pass. And not just because a lot of the hair had already been taken off by that point. In fact, since I shaved a little bit closer, a little bit less than 24 hours, the third pass being comfy was actually a good indicator of proper lubrication, because the skin's a little bit more sensitive when it hasn't been given quite enough time to heal from the last shave. So here's what it looks like. Some of the contours have kind of run away and gone. But now see, this is still a very photo-worthy lather. Definitely not wet and dripping off the brush like some soaps. But this one just wasn't built to be a thick, a viscous but kind of gluey like soap. It's meant to hold its structure like this. If you add too much water, this is just going to kind of die. Doesn't mean it's a bad soap. That's just the way it was built. Okay, so see, look at that right there. Long, thin peak, and he's thin enough to where he's not really able to support his own weight very much. So those are some things to look for. You can kind of leave half of them in the bowl and then pull up. Now this time I didn't get long peaks, so sometimes you have to try it a few times, and you'll kind of get a feel for it. Give it a little shake, watch how it behaves. You'll get a feel for your soaps. And if you do something like Austere August, where you devote a longer period of time to a certain soap base, you'll really get to know it and know how it's gonna act, and when it feels right. It really does work that way. It's a pretty neat skill set pretty neat to watch those skills grow in yourself after a while. So this brush, golden nib, Silvertip premium, really soft, softer than the grade A from golden nib, but they both seem to have similar enough backbone to me. And so I tried the grade A, but since this was softer and the grade A didn't really offer any other benefits, then I either sold that knot or am going to sell that knot. So it's a good badger brush in my opinion. All right, all told, we used a little over 3 teaspoons of water, but next time I would want to use more than that, so that my earlier passes of lather weren't as thick and dry and didn't support the skin like they should have. You saw what I was working with after the shave in the bowl there, 2 passes more at least of shaving lather left over. And so that 40-second load is what we ended up doing. I'm glad I did that just to make sure that I had a little bit of extra. But yeah, I think I could get away with a 30-second load next time for tomorrow. And the feather did terrifically. And let's just take and I don't even really rinse the razor too much afterwards. When you get a nice lather that's really well hydrated, it will show in your hardware because you won't have as much buildup on your gear because it'll just be so easy to rinse away. All right, and yep, we're good. Oh, you know what? So this scent is that cherry almond marzipan type scent that I really enjoy. And then it's kind of this similar scent to what I thought this Tuscany was when I first used it a dozen times. And I finally looked it up, and I think it's a floral, and I think it's violet with some bergamot, and the combination of those two kind of give me a cherry flavor, not the a scent, not the almond type cherry flavor scent, but the just as kind of a straight cherry, and then there's some spices in there that I kind of called it wild cherry. So let's compare the two kind of cherries here. Yeah, this is the Tuscany is more fruity, bright, and the almost not quite woodiness, but some kind of flat scent like that, not something bright, is more evident when you compare it with something kind of zesty and fruity like this Tuscany. But I think they work together nicely. Cella's not one to, for at least me, to stay on your skin afterwards for a long time to kind of be a cologne. You know, you definitely need to bring that to the table yourself. Sometimes when I'm shaving and I'm hydrating my lather, I do wonder, what if I'm pushing it too far? Should I leave it drier? And I think with Cella, at least, I was able to find out today where I like it, and the fact that, yeah, if I leave this one too dry, it just doesn't connect with my skin, and it causes a little bit of drag on the razor. The razor doesn't glide quite as easily, and then it doesn't protect my skin, like I was saying. So it was good to see that in action today, and then watch it improve as I kept hydrating my lather. So we'll use Cella again tomorrow and enjoy that. And I think we're good to go. This is a similar repeat shave to what I've done in the past, but hope there was something here for you. It is late. It's time for me to get to bed. You take care. Have a good night.